Hello, so this video is going to be about the male reproductive system and identifying some of the basic structures and functions of the male reproductive system. So the male reproductive system, the overall function, it's going to be specialized to produce and maintain the sex cells, so the spermatozoa or the sperm. It's going to be specialized to deliver those sex cells to the outside, as well as make the male hormone. So those are the overall functions of the male reproductive system. Now, the primary sex organ of the male reproductive system is going to be the testes. So testes for plural, testis for singular. So looking at this model, this is the sagittal section through the pelvic cavity of a male. Just to kind of give you what it is that you're looking at, this would be the rectum, anus, and then just anterior to that is the bladder. Okay, this is the penis, and then this right here is a testis. Okay, so there are a pair, so there are two testes. All right, so here, this is the testis is going to be the site where you have the male sex cells being produced as well as the male sex hormones. Okay. So you may ask, why is it located outside of the pelvic cavity? Why isn't it inside where it could be more protected? And that's because of the temperature requirements for the process called spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis is the process in which sex cells, the sperm cells, are produced. And it needs to be, in order for that to happen, it has to be a couple of degrees cooler than body temperature. So that's why the testes are going to be suspended outside of the pelvic cavity through this structure right here called the spermatic cord. In the spermatic cord, you'll find arteries, veins, nerves, as well as the ductus deferens. Okay? So this is just, I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between a couple of these pictures to identify everything on your list. This is just a close-up picture of a singular testis. Okay. The testes are going to be suspended again through that spermatocord, and they're going to be housed within this structure called the scrotum. Okay, so they're housed and protected in the scrotum. This is a model of a testis as well as the epididymis. So here, this is the testis proper. It's going to be surrounded by this tough white fibrous connective tissue called the tunica albuginea, which dips down into these lobules. And within each lobule, you'll find between 1 and 4 seminiferous tubules. These highly coiled seminiferous tubules, that is where spermatogenesis takes place. Highly coiled because the more coiled, the more surface area, meaning the more sperm cells that can be produced. Okay? So these seminiferous tubules are located in these lobules of the testis. Okay, so these are the seminiferous tubules. The seminiferous tubules, that's where spermatogenesis takes place. Those sperm are going to be produced, and they're going to accumulate in the lumen of the seminiferous tubules. From the lumen of the seminiferous tubules, the sperm will travel and go to the rete testis. So this structure right here is the rete testis. From here, the sperm will travel into the epididymis. So this structure right here, which it would be located on the posterior side of the testis, this is the epididymis. This is the head of the epididymis, the body of the epididymis, and then the tail of the epididymis. Okay? So if the primary function of the testis is going to be to produce sex cells, so produce sperm cells through spermatogenesis, as well as produce the male sex hormones. That's what the testis does. What does the epididymis do? The epididymis actually is going to help, it's going to secrete glycogen as well as other substances that are going to help maintain the sperm. It's also going to help store the sperm until they reach full maturity before they can be released via ejaculation. So the epididymis is going to, again, secrete glycogen and other substances that helps maintain and finish out the maturation process of the sperm. The sperm, once they leave the epididymis, they are now motile, okay? So it's not until they're stored here in the epididymis until they become motile. So the ability to move on their own. Now, even once they leave the epididymis, the sperm won't actually move by themselves or move independently until they reach about the female reproductive system. The sperm will rely primarily on peristaltic contractions so that they can save energy. So even though they are motile once they leave the epididymis, they won't move independently until ejaculation. Okay, so that's the epididymis. Now here at the tail of the epididymis, you'll see that a single tube-like structure extends upward. Okay, this is the ductus deferens, also referred to sometimes as the vas deferens. So this is the ductus deferens. So let's go back to this image right here. So again, contained within the spermatocord, you have arteries, veins, nerves, as well as the ductus deferens. The ductus deferens is going to be, that's going to be where the sperm, upon sexual stimulation and upon ejaculation, the sperm are going to travel through the ductus deferens for ejaculation, okay? So to get to the urethra so that the urethra can convey the sperm to the outside. So here in this picture right here, spermatocord enters into the pelvic cavity. This tube right here, which loops around over into the backside of the bladder, the urinary bladder, that's the ductus deferens. This is not. This is a ureter. This is coming down from the kidneys and connecting to the bladder where it will store urine. Okay, this is the ductus deferens. Okay. To show you, I have a cartoon picture right here that I took from the internet to just kind of show you that. Here's your urinary bladder. These are the ureters coming down from the kidneys. Over here, these purple structures, right? They're purple in the picture. These are the ductus deferens. Again, there are two because there are two testes, okay? One coming from each. This region right here that's enlarged right before the ductus deferens enter and dump their contents into the ejaculatory duct, this enlarged region is called the ampulla of the ductus deferens. So what's contained in the ductus deferens? Sperm, okay? Those sperm get released into the ejaculatory duct. Now, also, secretions from the seminal vesicles get released into the ejaculatory duct. So on the posterior side of the bladder, these structures right here, there are two of them. These are the seminal vesicles. The seminal vesicles are going to dump into the ejaculatory duct secretions that will help compose semen. So semen is not just sperm. Semen is sperm plus secretions that help maintain the sperm. Seminal vesicles, their secretions are going to be slightly alkaline. It's a slightly alkaline fluid. That alkaline fluid is going to help maintain the pH of the sperm as well as neutralize the acidic environment of the vagina. Seminal vesicles also secrete fructose, which is a monosaccharide, and that's going to help provide an energy source for the sperm because they have a long travel ahead of them through the female reproductive system. They are also going to secrete prostaglandins, and prostaglandins will help stimulate uterine wall contractions. Once all of these contents reach the female reproductive tract, prostaglandins stimulate uterine wall contractions, and that helps propel the sperm up towards the fallopian tubes where fertilization will take place. So again, you have your ductus deferens bringing sperm, your seminal vesicles bringing that slightly alkaline fluid, and all of that gets dumped right here into the ejaculatory duct, which leads to the prostatic urethra. Okay. So let's see, this first part of the urethra, this proximal part of the urethra coming right off of the bladder, is surrounded by this chestnut-shaped gland called the prostate. So that's why we refer to this as the prostatic urethra. The prostate is also going to produce secretions that will become a part of semen. And so let's look back over to this picture. All right, so here is our urinary bladder. This is the one of the ductus deferens. This is one of the seminal vesicles. And this gland right here, inferior to the bladder, this is the prostate. So we took off this so that you can see a section through all of it. This would be one of the seminal vesicles. This is leading to the ejaculatory duct right here. So here's our ejaculatory duct. Here's the prostatic urethra coming directly off of the urinary bladder, surrounded by the prostate. So the prostate is going to produce and secrete a milky fluid which contains nutrients to help maintain the sperm. It also contains, or it's going to secrete what's called PSA, or prostate-specific antigen. And this PSA, this prostate-specific antigen, helps liquefy the semen after ejaculation so that the semen won't become thick or kind of coagulate, which would make it much more difficult to travel throughout the female reproductive tract. So that's the prostate. Okay. Let's see. Let me go to this picture again. Here's the prostate. This would be the prostatic urethra. Here, this is urinary bladder. These would be seminal vesicles. These would be your ductus deferens. Here's our prostate, which is just inferior to the bladder. And then this portion of the urethra, which is surrounded by the prostate, this is your prostatic urethra. Now right here, so easy, first let's identify prostatic urethra because it's surrounded by the prostate. The spongy urethra is surrounded by the penis. There's this portion of the urethra right here which is neither surrounded by the prostate nor the penis. This is called the membranous urethra or the intermediate urethra. Okay? So it's just inferior to the prostatic urethra. Now lateral to this intermediate or membranous urethra are these two little glands that are actually going to dump their contents into the intermediate urethra. These are the bulbal urethral glands, so there are a pair of them, sometimes referred to as Calpers glands. Now the Calpers or the bulbal urethral glands, their secretions are not necessarily part of semen per se, but upon sexual stimulation, they will release a mucus-like secretion which will actually help lubricate the end of the penis for sexual intercourse. Now, it is a lubricating mucus-like fluid, but most or majority of the lubricating fluids are actually going to come from the female reproductive system upon sexual stimulation. Okay? So that, I'm going down the list for everything you'll have to identify. So those are your two bulbal urethral glands. Right here, in this cartoon picture, these are the bulbal urethral glands. This would be that intermediate or membranous urethra. Let's go here. Okay, so bulbal urethral glands. Next, with the penis, okay, so here, this is the penis. Let's go back to this picture. Here's the penis. Now the penis, the function of the penis is going to convey both urine as well as semen to the outside. So in the male reproductive system, this urethra contains both, is going to contain or convey both semen as well as urine to the outside. Okay. The penis is going to be composed of columns of erectile tissue. So let's look right here. So let's look at a section through the penis. Now, the columns of erectile tissue, there's going to be one column of erectile tissue called the Corpus Spongiosum, and I think that's the easiest to identify first. Now, the portion of the urethra that is contained within the penis itself, that's referred to as the spongy urethra. So this tissue, in this picture, it's reddish. The erectile tissue that surrounds the spongy urethra is the corpus spongiosum. Spongy urethra, corpus spongiosum. This corpus spongiosum expands at the end of the penis to form the glans penis. So this expanded region of the penis is referred to as the glans penis. Okay? So spongy urethra, corpus spongiosum, and then glans penis. So this tissue right here, okay, this is called the corpora cavernosa. And there are actually two columns of corpora cavernosa. Okay, you can't see that very easily in this picture. In your book, there was actually, you could see a cross section through the penis, so a section this way, and you'll be able to see that there's one column of corpus spongiosum and two columns of corpora cavernosa. And smack dab in the center of each of those columns of corpora cavernosa, you'll see a deep artery, one deep artery each. Upon sexual arousal, what happens is parasympathetic impulses are going to cause those arteries to dilate. It will increase blood flow to the penis, enlarging and stiffening the penis for sexual intercourse. Okay? So that's the corpora cavernosa. So if we go back to this picture right here, here's our spongy urethra. Just outside, so follow my pointer, just outside of the spongy urethra is the corpus spongiosum, and at the end it expands to form the glans penis. On this side, right here, this is a corpora cavernosa, this is a corpora cavernosa, okay? So those are the two corpora cavernosa. Those are the three columns of erectile tissue found in the penis. Now I encourage you to go through all the pictures of the models and try to identify all those structures the best you can.